The US-China trade war heats up as the Dutch government seizes Nexperia, a Chinese-owned chipmaker based in the Netherlands, under pressure from the Trump administration. What are the implications of this trade war on Europe and the rest of the world? We'll discuss this and more on this week's China Report. Welcome to the China Report. Every week, we'll be helping you sort through all the propaganda with an independent view of the country that we're taught to hate, but know so little about. I'm your host, Amanda Yi. These are this week's headlines. This week, top Chinese leaders will map out the country's 15th five-year plan at the 4th plenary session of the 20th Communist Party of China Central Committee. The plan will lay out the groundwork for China's development over the next 5 years from 2026 to 2030. During the 14th five-year plan that ends this year, China's industrial policies and subsidies contributed to breakthroughs in green technologies, such as electric vehicles. Experts said that during the next 15th five-year plan period, China's development priorities will likely center around enhancing its economic resilience, which will include diversifying trading partners, boosting domestic consumption, and improving technology and innovation capabilities. Key priorities during this period include expanding domestic demand, boosting consumption's role in economic growth, creating high-quality jobs, and increasing household incomes. The U.S. National Security Agency launched a cyber attack on China's National Time Center. That's according to China's Ministry of State Security in a statement released on WeChat following an investigation. According to the ministry, the NSA had exploited vulnerabilities in the messaging services of a foreign mobile phone brand to steal sensitive data from devices of the National Time Service Center staff in 2022. They also alleged that in April of 2023, the NSA used the stolen login credentials to break into the Time Center's computer systems and probe the construction of its internal network. And from August 2023 to June of 2024, the agency deployed a new cyber operation platform using 42 types of specialized cyber weapons to launch high-intensity attacks on several internal network systems. Investigators found that most attacks occurred between midnight and dawn Beijing time, with the NSA using virtual private servers based in the US, Europe, and Asia to disguise its origins. The attackers forged digital certificates, bypassed antivirus detection, and used strong encryption algorithms to erase traces of its intrusion. Located in Xi'an, the Time Center is responsible for generating, maintaining, and broadcasting Beijing time, which underpins the timing accuracy of China's communication, finance, power, transportation, mapping, and defense sectors. If these systems were compromised, it could trigger network communication failures, financial system disorder, transportation paralysis, and even launch failures in aerospace missions. Chinese researchers have developed an optical chip the size of a fingernail, powerful enough to distinguish light with a precision thought only possible with bulky lab equipment. The chip was developed by a research team at Tsinghua University, and according to a paper published by Nature Journal last week, it's able to analyze colors separated by less than 1/10 of a nanometer and at roughly 100 times sharper than comparable snapshot imagers. The chip, which its developers have named Yuheng, is able to record the color signatures of nearly 10,000 stars each second, potentially shortening the time needed to map the Milky Way from millennia to less than a decade. Researchers plan to test Yuheng on the Gran Telescopio Canarias in Spain's Canary Islands, the world's largest single-aperture optical telescope used to study stars, galaxies, dark matter, and black holes. According to the researchers, the potential use of this technology are far-reaching and manifold. It could be used to develop a non-invasive way for doctors to analyze tissue health, enable drones to detect pollutants or soil quality from the air, and even allow self-driving cars to distinguish road surfaces, traffic signs, and obstacles more accurately in poor lighting conditions. According to the paper, more research and testing is needed to improve Yuheng's stability and integration, its data processing speed, as well as how to scale up its design for future commercial and scientific uses. Chen Nangying, Nobel laureate and one of the world's most influential physicists, has died at the age of 103 in Beijing. Chinese media cited illness as the cause of death in a published obituary this weekend. Yang moved to the United States in the 1940s, where he pursued academic studies and held teaching positions. In 1957, he and fellow theoretical physicist Li Sengdao were jointly awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work in parity laws, which led to important discoveries regarding elementary particles, the building blocks of matter. Young's later works continue to influence modern physics. The Young-Mills theory, developed together with American physicist Robert Mills, laid the foundation for the standard model in particle physics. In his later years, Young returned to China, and in 1999, he became a professor at Tsinghua University, where his father once taught mathematics. He would also become honorary dean of its Institute for Advanced Study. Tsinghua University released an obituary on Saturday calling Young an immortal legend in exploring the unknown. The China Association for Science and Technology also issued a statement commemorating Young's pivotal role in bridging scientific communities, emphasizing his visit to China in 1971, when Sino-US relations were still estranged, calling him an unrivaled bridge for scientific friendship and exchange. We're just a week and a half away from the high-stakes Xi-Trump meeting at this year's APEC summit in South Korea. In the weeks ahead of this anticipated meeting, we have seen the U.S. Commerce Department expand its entities list to further crack down on Beijing. We've seen China expand its rare earth export controls, and we've seen the Dutch government, under U.S. pressure, seize control of Chinese-owned chipmaker Nexperia. How do we make sense of this trade war, and what are its implications for Europe? What are the implications for the global South? To discuss this, we are so honored to welcome back Vijay Prashad. Vijay is an author, historian, journalist, and the executive director of the Tri-Continental Institute for Social Research. Vijay, welcome back to the China Report.
It's great to be with you, Amanda. It's great to be here. Yeah.
Well, we're really honored to have you back on. I think to get started, maybe I'll read a little quote from a Bloomberg article that I read yesterday. They said, Xi and the Communist Party think in decades, not election cycles. In China, the trade war is increasingly framed as a test of political and ideological stamina. By probing Washington's reaction to export bans, Beijing is testing what might happen in a more serious confrontation over the leadership's ultimate red line: Taiwan, the island he views as part of China's territory. So I guess to start off with, I'm really curious to hear your take on this overall trade war. Is Taiwan a key motivating factor in this trade war, like Bloomberg suggests? Any thoughts on who may have the leverage here, or what you may think?
Well, actually, I don't think there's a trade war because I don't think there are two entities that are trying to outdo each other. What we're seeing is two parallel realities. On the one side, there's China, which, is a developing country, which came out of a very long war in the 1940s, where the Chinese Revolution then drove the new Chinese government into a reality where they had to take care of extremely poor people battered by war. And so over the course of the next several decades, the Chinese government, through central planning, through harnessing the resources of the Chinese people, tried to solve the problems that were before China. And one of those problems was absolute poverty. Another problem was to maintain, the developments of technology and so on. That's what China has been doing. It's trying to develop. It's trying to improve the conditions of its own people. It's actually not in a contest with anybody. It's not competing with anybody. It's trying to compete against poverty. That's what the Chinese are about. United States, on the other hand, after World War II, not having faced the destruction of its economy, was in a very comfortable position, saw itself as the leading economic country, then built upon those gains to develop, both a vast military capacity and an enormous economic capacity. The United States was able to develop its own productive forces to an extent unimaginable. But found in the 2000s that the Chinese economy had developed quite rapidly and China was making gains in its own ability to develop high technology. At the time, United States started to put pressure on China and said, stop developing. You are not allowed to develop at this speed. You cannot develop at a pace which is going to contest US hegemony of the world economy. The Chinese turned around and said, sorry, we've been there before. It was called the Opium War. We suffered 2 opium wars with the British. We then suffered a century of humiliation. We're actually not going to stop our development. We want to overcome poverty. We want to overcome the legacy of starvation and humiliation. We want to have our development. And then the United States says, well, if you're going to behave like that, we're going to sanction you, we're going to threaten you, and we're going to use Taiwan as a kind of leverage point to try to bring you into some sort of confrontation with the United States, which you're going to lose. And well, they attempted everything, and the Chinese held fast, continued to develop, refused to be drawn into a confrontation, and there we are. Bloomberg imagines that this is about China, but it's actually about development.